Hey friends, my name is Lauren Jackson and welcome to the Kids Ministry Circle YouTube channel. If you are new and watching our videos for the very first time, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. If you loved this video, we would love for you to like and subscribe so that you get new videos sent straight to you. If you are returning, welcome. Today's video, we are going to be talking about how to create a lasting first impression. There are pivotal moments throughout the year where families are coming to your church, whether it's the beginning of the year, maybe it's Easter Sunday or the Christmas season, or maybe when the beginning of school season starts. I notice a lot of people coming back to church because they were traveling over the summer, or maybe they moved over the summer, and they're jumping back into normal rhythms. So let me ask you a question. If you were to walk into a church for the first time, what are some things you would notice? When is the last time you walked into a brand new church for the first time? If you're a staff member and you've been a longtime staff member at a church, you may not have a great answer for this. But I'm convinced that everyone pays attention to different details. My husband pays attention to the sound and lighting right away. That's his field of expertise, and so that's what he notices. As a mom of two and someone who's in the kids ministry world, I want to know where the bathroom is. I want to know where to find coffee. I want to know where the kids ministry check-in is. Those are some things that I pay attention to when I walk into a new church building. First impressions matter. And when you are welcoming new families, it matters a little bit extra because parents are letting you borrow their kids and putting a piece of their heart and soul into your classrooms. And so first impressions matter. It's so easy to forget what it feels like to walk into a church for the first time. If you've been a churchgoer your entire life, it probably feels normal to you to walk into a church. But for a lot of families who are walking into a church building for the very first time ever in their entire life, it's intimidating. It can be scary. And so here are my favorite tips on how to make your first impressions last way past Sunday morning. The first tip is your online presence. This may sound silly to start with, but how people experience your church prior to even stepping foot in your building is important. Whether it's on social media channels or a website, it needs to have the correct information and helpful information. What is on your website? Is it easy to navigate? Are your service times and church addresses accurate? Is there information for parents on what time check-in begins, how it works, what age groups are available, and what policies are in place? I can't tell you the number one question I get with new families is what happens with students. Now, I know this isn't a student ministry circle YouTube page, but I would encourage you to connect with your family ministry team or your students team to make sure that that information is accurate because a lot of times families have both kids and students. And so we need to think about the entire family unit. They say Sunday morning church is a Saturday night decision. So having an updated and easy to navigate website will give families the confidence to come and visit. Some things to make sure on your website are point of contact. So who's in charge? When I'm looking at a new church, I like to know who's the kids ministry director, who's the family pastor, what are some faces that I will see if I have questions and I don't know where to go, what are some familiar faces that I can go to and ask my questions? Sunday morning programming, what age groups? What are check-in details? Do I need to pre-register? Do I need to show up early? Is K through 5th grade in service that Sunday? All of those information and all of those details are important. Another thing is what the kids are learning. This may be unique to me, but I want to know what my kids are learning on Sunday morning. And so maybe on your website, you put an overview of the month, or maybe a link to the scope and sequence, or maybe you say what curriculum that you use. A lot of times families will look for the similarities across different churches. If families have used Orange or Gospel Project or Grow at a different church, they want to find a church that has a similar values when it comes to picking a curriculum and teaching on Sunday morning. The next thing is policies. So things like bathroom policies, things like safety policies. Are your doors locked during service? Those are some important things to know when parents are visiting. And the last thing is pre-registration. Pre-registration was really popular during the COVID pandemic season because people wanted to know how many kids were going to be in their room so they continue to be safe. but pre-registration has stuck around and it's actually really helpful. And so if you can have a pre-registration link up on your website so that it's just less time for parents to spend filling out all the information at your check-in counters, at the check-in table, so that they can drop their kids off and get to service sooner. So I would highly encourage you to have a pre-registration form on your website. The second tip is clear signage. Make sure you have clear and correct signage. It starts outside the building. It guides people through the parking lot. It leads them to the front entrance. When families walk into your church, do they know and do they see a sign for kids check-in? It could be downstairs, it could be upstairs, but regardless, there should be a kids check-in sign right when families enter the front entrance of your building. When we walked into our new home church for the first time, it was overwhelming. We went to the second service, and so we experienced people coming out of the first service and people coming in for the second service. So the lobby was full. And when we walked in at that point in that season, we had a 3-year-old and a 3-month-old. And so 1, it was overwhelming. 2, I feel like we barely made it to church on time, but also we were looking for the kids check-in sign. And you know what? It was this giant sign right in the lobby that I could see with my eyes right when I walked in the front doors. And that gave me a sigh of relief because I knew exactly where to go to check my kids in for kids ministry. The third tip is for new family check-in. I would highly encourage you to create a designated iPad or computer or check-in stand for new families only. Checking in for the first time can often take longer, and to be mixed in with a sea of families who already know how it works can be intimidating. This check-in station should be manned with a staff member or a volunteer. You do not want a new family to be left alone to navigate the check-in system. Make sure they see a face before they see a screen. For many families, the check-in volunteer is the first person they will meet. So it's important that they are welcoming and can easily carry on a conversation. A check-in volunteer should not only engage the parents, but it's important to talk to the kids. Ask their name, ask how old they are, ask what grade they're in, where they go to school, what their favorite activity is, what they had for breakfast, what they did yesterday. There's so many things that you can do to engage both kids and parents. Asking those simple questions help kids feel like they matter from the moment they walk in your space. The fourth tip is about connecting the dots. So a new family finds the sign, they get to the check-in counter, they get their tags, they're all ready to go. Have your volunteers walk them to their classrooms. Don't send them off by themselves. Walk them to their classroom, introduce them to the volunteers, and make sure they know how to get back to the main service. Oftentimes you're like, there's the classroom, here's where you drop off the kids, and then the parents are like, wait, is there a one-way flow of traffic here? How do I get back to the main auditorium? You wanna make sure parents have all of their dots connected so they know where to go next, they know where to go for pickup, and they know how to get back into your kids' area. Oh, and don't forget to tell them where to get coffee and breakfast treats if you have them. The fifth tip is going the extra mile. So you welcomed your new families. You make sure they were all set in their classrooms. Now what? The hard part is over. But what about following up? And what are ways that you can go the extra mile to make a family feel welcome? Below are a handful of things that I have done in the past and I have experienced as a parent that have made a lasting first impression. The first thing is a first-time sticker. When we visited our home church for the first time, my daughter, who was 3, was living her best life after she received a first-time sticker. She wore it all day and told everyone about it. I loved seeing her so excited to be a first-time guest. At one church, we gave out banded bracelets, and those were a hit with the elementary-aged kids. And they tend to last a little bit longer than a sticker. What was really cool is we gave out these silicone bracelets and we said, hey, bring these bracelets to the connection desk down in the lobby and you'll get a treat. And you know what? It worked because all kids want a special treat. And you know who ended up coming with them to the first time connection desk? The parents. And so the parents got to experience someone who could help them get connected into the church, and the kids got a cool treat. It was a win-win for everybody. The second thing is welcome bags. This is also an easy win. Welcome bags can be filled with information about your church, upcoming events, special church swag, or something sweet. My daughter still drinks out of the cup that she got on her first Sunday. If you have a local coffee shop or an ice cream shop, see if they can give you coupons to give out to your new families, especially for those that are new to the area. It's a fun way to support your community and give families something fun to do together. The third thing is a simple thanks for visiting for families on their way out. If you are a church staff member, you probably have a team of people helping new families check in, but most of the time, those volunteers don't stick around until the end of service. Try and make it a point to check in with the families during checkout. Ask the kids how church was, or tell the parents that their toddler did a great job during service. Checking in, introducing yourself, and saying thanks for coming is a simple yet impactful way to make families feel known and loved. The last thing is follow-up. This can be an email, but sometimes emails tend to get lost in the shuffle. And if you collect addresses, I would send a postcard. I would send a letter. I would send something to their house saying, thanks for visiting. One thing that I love to do is I would send these big postcards that said, thanks for visiting on the front. And then I would ask my volunteers to write on the back and say, hey, it was so great having you in my class. I loved when you did fill in the blank. It's personal, it's to the kids. Kids love mail, so they get excited about it. And again, it's going the extra step so kids feel like they were known and loved in your ministry, even if it was for only an hour and a half. Postcards are also a really easy way to tell families about what's happening next or what's coming up. Oftentimes I would always write, here's our next baby dedication, here's our next preschool play day, or here's when our VBS is coming up. That's a really simple way to say, thanks for coming, I hope you can join us again. So we do all of this not just to raise attendance numbers, but we do this so people will feel welcomed and loved in our communities. It's true that we don't know a family story when they walk into our building. They may know absolutely nothing about Jesus and the Bible, and because of your smiling face and the authenticity of your volunteers, they may feel loved and known enough to come back and to find out more. Ministry is all about meeting people where they're at and inviting them to participate in the gospel story. Taking the time to intentionally think about and put into action a comprehensive family welcome plan is the first step. So here's where to start if you're not sure what to do first. So if you don't have a budget for new signage or are in a temporary space, leverage your volunteers. Give your most welcoming volunteers a bright colored lanyard or a bright colored shirt and station them at the doors. Their one job is to welcome families and point in the right direction where to go. Say, hey, we're so excited that you're here. Kids check-in is down there and around the corner, right? That's a really easy way to welcome families when signage is not in your budget in this moment. If you are short on volunteers, train the welcome and the hospitality team to keep an eye out for new families and teach them how to check in new families to your classrooms. Oftentimes, once service starts, doors are locked, kids ministry staff and kids ministry volunteers are leading and teaching and worshiping and doing all the fun things that kids ministry has, and that leaves no one to check in new families. No one's standing outside at the check-in counter. And so it's important to get everybody involved, show everybody how to check in a new family so that no new family gets left behind. First impressions matter, and I hope this video was helpful as you are thinking about your own first impressions. One thing I love to do is invite somebody who is new or somebody who's never been to your church before. It could be a kids ministry leader down the street and you say, hey, can you walk through my building and see where we're missing signage and see where we're missing maybe a greeter or a volunteer, or can you experience my check-in setup for the first time so that they can give you an insight on maybe what you're missing, what you're doing well, and what you can work on for the future. If you would like to see how other churches do their check-in process, we have a handful of videos that are kids ministry space tours where you can take a peek inside kids ministry environments and see how they're doing their check-in and how their classrooms are set up and the ways that they utilize their space on a Sunday morning. So you can head to this link right here and watch our latest kids ministry space tour. As always, if you loved this video, we would love for you to like and subscribe and tell us below, what do you do to go the extra mile to welcome families? I would love to know, and I'm sure what you do in your church can be a huge piece of encouragement for other leaders who are trying to figure out how to welcome new families into their community. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.